Happy Monday, and I hope your weekend went well. And welcome to another evening on Fresh Natural Live. This evening, we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine. And Alexa, I've been working with Chef Babette for, I don't remember, it's been more than 10 years. We're almost like partners. We're like on different parts of the planet, but we're always connected. She's going to share some of our inspiration. In fact, we've been talking and sharing notes and tossing around ideas. And we've been talking about working together for some time. And so what we decided is that we would start off with doing a monthly show together. And she's going to share some of her inspiration with us. So what I want you to do is sit back and get some pen and paper. So we're going to cover a lot of information. There will be some recipes we'll share with you. But what we want to do is, in addition to educate and inform you tonight, we want to inspire you to take the necessary steps to make a difference in your life. And so Chef Babette's going to come on, we think maybe the first Monday of every month. We haven't ironed out all the details, but she's going to share her inspirational life with all of us and give us some insight. So sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, and so as I said before, I have a very special guest, good friend of mine, Chef Babette. And many of you on the chat line who's looking in, who may be looking at the video later, know Chef Babette. You probably know Chef Babette more than you know me, and so I probably should introduce myself. However, she's a lady who does not need any introduction, but for just a few of you who don't know who Chef Babette is and may not have come across any of her work, I'm going to share a special video with you. So sit back and take a look. And this is a little synopsis of who Chef Babette is and what she's about.
Hey everybody, it's Chef Babette. I'm having a blast. You know what I do? I do best, desserts. And I'm inviting you to come over on any day, and I will be very happy to teach you how to make this delectable. And we call this Chef Babette's Blackberry Blueberry Cobbler. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna first saute. I'm using tempeh today.
Okay.
All right, a little bell pepper.
Can we start, Chef?
Yeah. Green onion, please dig in. And so you have, but you don't eat anything unless you promise you're gonna be like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
They'll like it. They'll like it.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dump our tempeh in here.
Okay. Just
And
a little bit of oil.
And I'm not using oil actually.
Okay.
And because if we get it hot enough, we can just take the isn't it? See, say it louder, louder, louder. They're saying it's delicious.
Whoa. This is incredible.
Isn't it?
It's like cheesy.
All right, so
Wow.
then we're gonna. Oh, this is Bragg's liquid amino, so I'm using this instead of salt. Yeah.
So can we just mention something? Now I hope you're okay with this.
I'm okay with it.
How young are you?
I'm 66.
No way.
Please step back. Everybody.
No way.
Look at that. What? Oh, yeah. Boom.
That's big in shape.
If that's just what that is.
How about all of you come along with me and hang out with Chef B today? We're going to do a real great workout in the park. Working out is about breathing. It's about pushing. It's about taking yourself to your max. Life is not complete unless you move. Most days, however, I am at Stuff I Eat, banging it away at least until opening. And then the rest of the day is mine. I'm gonna go to my favorite health food store and we're gonna pick up some items because I've got a group of friends that are gonna come around today and we're gonna sit back, chat, enjoy ourselves, and eat some of my delectable delights. I got to get this spiralizer. Bought one last night, left it, and I need one. And I'm trying to be a little frugal, but at the same time, I want to make sure that this ain't gonna jack me out of my money. So you know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna just go with the $20 spiralizer. I know this one will work. $19.99. This is what I'm getting today for our raw spaghetti. I got my team here, all my ladies, and we're getting ready to prepare spaghetti sauce for y'all. So what we're gonna do is we're actually making one sauce, but it's so darn versatile. You can actually eat it raw or live, or we can heat it as we have some heating over there. And so you can either have pasta, you can have spiralized zucchini. It's just a super versatile sauce. Right now, we're gonna get ready to dive in and make all of you viewing this very, very jealous. Let's eat, y'all. And the beauty to all of this is that at my age, at 66 years old, outside of the restaurant, I can still have such a fantastic time, and I have the energy to enjoy myself. So today it's Saturday, I gathered with friends, and it was absolutely wonderful. Have a great day. Bye.
Why are you laughing at me?
I was enjoying watching that. Well, without further ado, let's bring on the star tonight, Chef Babette. Hello, Chef Babette. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Doc. How are you?
Just fine.
I can't believe that's been like 4 years ago.
Wow, that's right. That's right. I mean, my goodness, it looks like you look a little younger now. My goodness, it's 4 years more in time.
Say, Doc. You know what to say. You know me long enough.
Well, we got some people. Hello, Karen Evans. Hello, Catherine Welch. Get my own. Yippee. Deborah Payne, good evening to you. Catherine Welch, how are you doing? Nicole Coleman, how are you doing? And everybody else, I can't go through all the names, but I want to get to some of the basic stuff. We talk about, and again, tonight's subject is the inspirational life of Chef Babette, an inspirational meal to share. I mean, the series is going to be about your inspirational life and talking about, the exercise and workout you've done. And you've shared with us a lot in terms of what you've gone through over the course of your life. I mean, you were not always, this healthy, you were not always this fabulous, et cetera, et cetera. I know there's a long version. For those in the audience who haven't heard, give us a little snippet of your quick little snippet of your journey, and then we're going to kind of get into the here and now. So,
okay.
Kind of share with us what that is.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to say good evening to everyone viewing. Welcome, and Doc, thank you so much for having me. My journey starts probably like everyone else's. When I was a kid, I had allergies, eczema, asthma, massive earaches, full of a lot of inflammation because of the way we nourished ourselves, or the lack thereof.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No, that's right.
you know what I mean? So, my mother pretty much, she had a 3rd grade education. She did her best. She really did her best to take care of us, but she understood nourishment just like all of us. That little pyramid they bring in telling you need to have this, and this every single day. And then as soon as you reach 35 or 40 and start getting sick, they start omitting half the stuff on the pyramid. And so we were all, as far as I'm concerned, I hope this doesn't cause us any problems, but we have all been misled, and I was no different. So as I began to get older, digesting food became, and it was that way for me even when I was a child. I had a lot of difficulty digesting food because I was extremely sensitive to the miscombinations of the way that we eat. We eat. It's just like we sit down to a plate of food and we have every species diet on one plate of food. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
digesting food was horrible, and it didn't end as I reached adulthood. And after a few marriages, I met my current husband. And,
That's what that bad food will do to you.
I met my current husband, and really, this is when the healthier lifestyle actually began, and that was in 1990. So I was born in 1950. So that's quite a number of years to suffer. There were times that I just could not use the bathroom, but I also had doctors that actually told me, going a few times a week is good enough. Well, we got 7 days in the week. I eat every single day, but I'm only supposed to, it's okay for me to eliminate only 2 or 3. And my body, it told me that was incorrect information those doctors had given me.
Excuse me. You mentioned your mother had a 3rd grade education, but you know, the doctors who had all of this other education didn't know.
Didn't know too much more than her.
Didn't know any more, probably less. So I mean,
less, yes. But after I met my current husband, he shared a couple of books with me, and you guys know that knowledge is power. Fit for Life, volumes 1 and 2, and the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. So I began to learn about food combining. I began to learn about mucus and how most disease is probably an overload of mucus. I mean, you know, we have names for the diseases. And once I began to educate myself, and this particular person that I met now was willing to transition right along with me. So we started, my first date with him was running the hills at Griffith Park. And he ran the whole thing backwards. So I made a promise to myself, if he can run it backwards, one day I'll be able to run it, maybe at a walker's pace, but in a running mode all the way to the top. And I can do that now. Because what he did was he introduced me through just the way that he was, he introduced me to the importance of self-love and self-care. And that is what had been lacking in my experience to that point. I didn't understand the importance of that because I didn't grow up that way. Self-love and self-care, I didn't have nothing to do with kids. It did nothing at all. Be quiet and just obey. That's enough. And that's pretty much the way I grew up. So once I began to start taking care of myself, I started feeling better. I was able to, at that point, digest food. I was also relieved from the earaches and from the eczema, the asthma. It all just disappeared. I omitted all dairy. I don't do honey. I don't do refined sugar, no dyes, no preservatives, and no animal product whatsoever or its byproducts.
Tell us about your makeup. Huh? I'm sorry to interrupt. Tell us about your makeup.
And my makeup, I use, what do you call her? She's a, come on, help me, Doc. You know what she is. You know my makeup. I'm just forgetting the name. Let me go get my bottle. Stop.
All right. While Chef Babette goes and gets her information, what I want to share with you is, and many of you may have heard this story before, but I want to emphasize the fact that what she's talking about is she had a lot of chronic illnesses that went away. And, yes. And what I like for people to emphasize, or understand, is the fact that, you know, these chronic illnesses were not, you know, she talked about eczema and all of this constipation, and these are titles we give. But really, it was just, you know, poor, improper nourishment, malnutrition, however you want to label it. And so what happened is that when she removed the cause, that these things went away. And so she started to nourish herself properly. So oftentimes we look and say, oh, wow, she looks great, and so on and so forth. But the best part of our story I like is not so much is how great she's doing now, is the comeback that she's made from all of this underlying illnesses. And just, you can only imagine had, you know, it's been what, 40 years since you've been vegan?
Let's see.
is it
No, it's been what, 30 some odd?
30 some odd years? Excuse me.
Yeah.
So just let's go back 30 years and just give you 30 more years of constipation, and 30 more years of mucus
Exactly.
buildup, and 30 more years. I mean, you know, we it'd be nice if we could have one of those computer programs where it's okay, you know, here's Chef Babette now, but you know, at 30 years of constipation and mucus, and you know, you'd probably be, well, you know, maybe a corpse, but perhaps, you know, someone who's not as gorgeous as you are now. And so I want people to understand that the body has the ability to heal itself.
Yes.
And it's really the lifestyle. And I just really want to emphasize that on the medical side of things, and health and nutrition as well. I'm sorry, you're going to tell us about
No, it's Arbonne. I love Arbonne.
Arbonne, okay.
It's a vegan makeup, and
Okay.
it has everything you need. It has your mascara, it has your shadows, it has all the, and I also use E3 Live. They have
Okay.
some of the products that I use on my skin, like night creams and or either underneath makeup. So I use the two of them. But yeah, Doc is.
And I'm sorry, for people who don't know, E3 Live is an algae. It's a
I'm
freshwater
sorry.
algae grown in Klamath Lake.
Right.
And it grows in the lake, and there's also the at the bottom of the lake is volcanic ash.
Yeah, it's a
And
whole
so
food.
it's a very super nutrient rich food.
A
So
whole food. It's not
it's a whole food. That's
it's
right.
a whole food.
And it's harvested in the wild. So and
Yes.
people consume it as well as use it topically. So yeah, that's great insight. So E3 Live,
Yeah.
I'll write that in the chat.
But I you know, like Doc said, using just transitioning to everything under and at first, because my skin was a mess, I couldn't even wear anything backless. Now you can hardly keep me out of anything backless. But I was just really a wipeout, and it was all because of my diet, my lifestyle. That was what was wreaking havoc. And once I began to change everything, like Doc said, it was almost like a miracle. Things just started going away. Skin started clearing up, and energy leveled through the roof. And here I am at 70 years old. Anytime I want to get up, any morning I want to get up and go over to Griffith Park and run those hills at 70, I can. I have friends now that I grew up with. That I have one in particular, very dear friend, who just had open heart surgery. And I specifically asked her, so are you gonna stop eating the stuff that's clogging arteries? Probably not. I only eat fish anyway. I was like, all right now, let me leave that there alone. So, you know, it's your journey. You do you, but understand this. We have one planet home, one planet. And if we don't do what we're supposed to do, we're not going to have a home for our great-grandkids and great-great-grandkids. This planet will purge the human species. And so there is a natural order to things. And that is what I began to learn, that we are a species first, as all other species. There is a specific diet for us.
You know, you just, in those few words, just, I mean, you got it all packed down. There's a whole lot that needs to be unpacked in those words. First and foremost, you alluded to your friend, and I know I have relatives who are younger than you, who are, you know, friends and relatives who are on canes, who are stuck in scooters, who can't walk, who've had surgeries and things like that, and they're not nearly as mobile, and so, you know, they have that problem there of the, you know, poor food ingestion. But you the other thing you said about your friend, when you asked her if she's going to make a change in her lifestyle, she said probably not, which gets to the real problem, which is that of a mindset.
Yes.
And so the unfortunate thing, and perhaps the most difficult part to really change, is your mindset. And even people who want to do better have struggled with getting the mindset, the desires, and their minds set in the right direction.
Yes,
and
they
so
do.
so yeah, that's really the underlying problem. But then the other part you raise, which again is maybe even more fundamental than the other two, is the fact that, like you said, this is one planet. And what we don't realize is how our very local ecosystem, our body, is so connected to the vast ecosystem.
Yes.
And how we may destroy this at the same time we're destroying that.
Yes.
And so we may eat poorly for selfish reasons, but the unfortunate thing is that we're damaging the global environment for our kids and grandkids and great-great-grandkids, not only by the fact that we're passing down these poor habits, the poor lifestyle and the poor dietary habits, etc., but we're also, by consuming these things, I don't want to get into environmental stuff, but the overfishing. Your friend says, I'll still fish. The overfishing, I mean, I've seen documentaries and scientific reports talking about how the overfishing probably has more of a drastic effect on our
than anything
else.
Yes, we need the ocean.
Exactly. And so everybody wants to get the fresh salmon from Alaska, but it has plastic and toxins in it also.
Sea salt with plastic in it.
Oh my goodness, sea salt with plastic. So we can't even get the sea salt.
There's plastic everywhere, Doc.
Yeah. And so the thing is that we have to realize that, we have to make individual steps, and it's a journey, like you said. So I mean, even when you start off eating plant-based, you're not necessarily doing everything that needs to be done. That's only the beginning. And you start to make changes. That's what I realize. I mean, I'm like to say the plastic, I'm more conscious of the plastic I use and things like that. Yes. But once you start to make that journey, you start to think in that way and start to make those changes. And if we all start in the right direction, I think it's more of a directional thing. It's not so much, well, I eat more vegan or I eat more raw, I eat more whatever. But if we're moving in that right direction, I think that's the key. What do you think about that?
I think I totally agree with you. And it is the movement and it's the intention. What is it you're trying to do on this journey? And because we're all connected, I don't care what it is you believe in, you must know that you were created and you are just an expression of that which created you. And all of it is an expression of it. And so we are connected. We're one in this. When we get off into colors, human colors and all, that's like roses beating up tulips or some stuff. I mean, that's how ignorant it is to me, because all we are is a species. And it just depends on where you came from and how much the sun was shining on the planet where you came from, that determines whether you're melanated or not. So there's a lot of ignorance in our society, and that ignorance spills over and allows us to be ignorant in so many different areas. You are getting ready to lay down and have open heart surgery and got an attitude. So
yeah, and they put a saw through your breastbone and flay you open like a piece of meat, and then they sew you up. But
it's our selfishness, though.
Yep.
We cannot think that this all belongs to us. God did not create this. The intelligence did not create this for just one species to make a mess of it. It was created to be appreciated. It was created for all of us to take the light that we were created in and of and share it with the rest of the planet. Not fight each other, not hate on each other. And when I say each other, I'm talking about each other as in life. You know what? The universe gave us a set of teeth that knows exactly what to eat and what to mash up. We don't even look at a chicken or a pig or a cow and salivate. We don't do that. But let it be a hot summer day and me see an open mango or a watermelon. Yes, I said watermelon. I will salivate for that.
Yep.
And I can digest that, and it begins in my mouth. Whereas that other dead animal flesh, I can't even break it down with the teeth I have. I need you to go kill it. I need you to skin it. I need you to package it up. I need you to shoot it up with its dyes and your water and whatever it is you're doing and put it on the shelf for me so I can come and get it and then buy some meat tenderizer to help me eat it. But I ain't thinking about what the meat tenderizer might be doing to my gut after I ingest it. Oh, and by the way, even with the meat tenderizer, I can't break it down in my mouth.
Yep.
I just swallow chunks of it because
That's right.
I never can chew it up like I chew up broccoli.
That's right. That's exactly right. No, you're exactly right. And it's interesting to mention that because essentially what we deal with is that, we're the most intelligent of God's creation. However, worms know what to eat, rats know what to eat, dogs know what to eat, cows know, but we don't know what to eat.
Thank you. Thank you.
What an irony.
The only species trying to eat everybody else's meal. We have absolutely no idea what we're supposed to. And common sense would tell us. What I just described is just the common sense would tell us what we are supposed to eat. You have the digestive enzymes. You have the enzymes in your mouth, the digestive enzymes after you eat the plant-based food that you're supposed to eat, but not animal.
Yep, it's crazy. Otis Granville says they fish and release. I guess they don't eat the fish, but I guess the hooks hurt the fish. So I don't know.
The fish and release, but everybody ain't fishing and releasing. I'm sorry. That unfortunately, everyone is not fishing and releasing. And from what I just learned, it's not really being overseen. It's not really being watched the way that it should be watched, and people are getting away with it, and it's too many people getting away with it. But that is not even just so much the fish. What about what we're doing to sharks and whales and all the big mammals in the ocean? What about our what's the life at the bottom, the coral? We're losing coral. Come on, y'all. You may be fishing and releasing, but like you said, Doc, how many fish are already dead once you wrap them up? And why you catching up all kind of fish when you only want one?
Yeah, the commercial fishing industry is really problematic, and there's a lot of corruption there. I haven't really studied that, but even the guys regulating them are some people say are paid off by the companies that are having to regulate because to get the certification, these companies pay the regulatory industry to get the certification. So
then, Doc, what are you talking about? Once again, human greed, humans being in it. I mean, it's like, if we don't really start practicing what we've learned in our books that kind of govern us as a society, we go to church on Sundays, and what I've always learned in churches is about loving, about acceptance, about sharing, about giving, and all of this kind of stuff. That is what we were created in and of. And it's like, if we don't get on that message, I just don't know about the species as a whole and how we hold on. We're cruel to each other. We're so cruel to each other that somebody can make a post on Facebook and a total stranger will come up and say something nasty and ugly to a person that they don't even know. For what purpose? Well, why do we not practice love as much as we practice hate? And when I talk about that, I cannot leave out the rest of life on this planet, because we behave sometimes as if we hate life.
Yep. And I think it starts off, it's some people may think it's hard to make a stretch in terms of the food we eat, but the chemicals that we put inside of ourselves affect us in many ways. Now, you may say, okay, I'm eating a lot of fried chicken, so I may get fat, or I may get high blood pressure, high cholesterol. But that same fried chicken will cause some emotional issues or mental issues as well. I mean, we've had patients come in who are depressed and on antidepressants, and we put them on a nutritional detox and cleanse, and emotionally they do better. They get off antidepressants. And we had people come in and say, I have a sense of euphoria, joy, they sleep better. So all of these things contribute to the either positive or negative biochemistry inside of your body. And so when you talk about, these evil and hateful things, someone who has, rage against someone that puts something on Facebook that they don't like, part of that could be what they're putting in the system. We understand how an alcoholic may behave in an adverse way because of the alcohol they put in there. They're drunk from alcohol, or a drug addict will do that. But we don't see these adverse foods, the adverse chemical in the foods, in the same way as we see the negative drugs in something like heroin or crack cocaine or alcohol. And in fact, it's the same, has a very same or similar effect.
That's
and so how we
incredible.
nourish ourselves has that impact.
And you know what? I love that, Doc, because you're absolutely right. The alcohol makes certain people act a certain way. The chemical drugs make certain people act a certain way, and then you have some drugs that are pretty much, this is the way you're gonna behave when you take it. And there's, like you said, we've got all kind of stuff in our water, all kind of stuff in our soil, all kind of stuff in the air we breathe, and the food, the flesh that we're eating, consuming. No wonder we're malfunctioning. You're absolutely right.
That's exactly right. Here's a couple of points before I go to the break. Someone asked a question about brown rice. There's certain brown rice that are better than others. A lot of these rice that are grown, they have arsenic. It depends on how they're grown.
Yeah, I try to use organic basmati. What about
organic basmati? Yeah, and I heard Lundberg has a good product, and they have an organic. It's clean. They say this doesn't have arsenic in it. We're finding. And I heard on the talk, and I think it was probably Joel Furman mentioning this, that some of the wild rices are commercially grown, and many of them have arsenic. But I found a source, and I may try to find it during the break. But there's some companies. The one we found in Minnesota, they actually harvest the wild rice in the lake, so it's wild. It's truly wild rice.
Oh, it's wild, yeah.
And so it has no arsenic, and we're going to start sourcing that in our place. But long story short is that, rice, you have to be selective in the rice. Get something organic, like you said, and even call them. A lot of times they have contact information on the package. Call them and say, is your rice arsenic free, et cetera, and so on. And if you're putting something in your mouth, you should investigate it. So that's my thinking. But anyway, I mean, this has been a great start. What I want to do is give people an insight. So it's somebody, Nicole called. Well, that's right. Furman does recommend wild rice as well, harvest it, and that's the company in Minnesota. You probably saw that same show on The Truth About Health that he was on. But the long story short is that you want to understand that eating a certain way has a broader impact than just your cholesterol or your waistline or whatever the case is. It has an impact on how you feel, how you live, how you behave, and it has an impact on your environment, not just your local environment, but your global environment. And we have to step back and think about these things in a more conscious way. And so no better way to start off than that. What I want to do, we're going to get into our inspirational meal on part 2. It gets into the nuts and bolts. So those of you in the chat line, get your questions ready. I want you to come with questions, comments. We're going to talk about some of these recipes. And tonight's show will be talking about recipes. Other shows we may talk about things such as exercise, fitness, and things like that. So it's all about the inspirational lifestyle. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with Chef Babette. Okay, so what I want to do is get into some of the recipes you share with us tonight. And and while I sort of throw these slides up, give us an idea in general in terms of how you come up with the recipes. First of all, let's start off with what you eat, and then take us to what you prepare in the restaurant. And then, we'll kind of get into some of these recipes as well.
My daughter and I were speaking on yesterday, and we have a retreat that we do with women, these wonderful, wonderful, wonderful women on Saturday. And we have a segment coming up, the food segment coming up. And of course, I'll be sharing my story with all of them. But she was saying, Mom, we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting. And she goes, you do that without even talking about it. It's just kind of how you roll. I am not big on giant plates of food. That does not work for me. So lighter, but more nutrients works best for me. I can literally make a handful of nuts a meal. I drink a lot of my food because we lose so many nutrients in the whole process, even just eating it, and the whole digestive process. So I know that if I am juicing the right foods, I'm going to be able, I just want my meals to be nutrient packed, if you will. I take E3 Live every day because I know that a lot of nutrients are deficient even in our vegetables, even in our organic food. Our soil is a mess. So that's kind of the way that I nourish myself. I'm very careful. I don't eat a lot. I do not eat a lot. I don't even have a desire to eat a lot, but I maintain my weight. I'm strong. I have no issues. It's working for me. And I can only say I get enough fiber, but I can just I believe that I can attribute this to the nutrition more than anything. It's more important to me than anything,
So basically, high quality nutrients is what we get. So like the E3 Live is higher amount of nutrients per amount of calorie. And just so people understand, the higher amount of nutrients per calorie, you have lots of protein, omega-3, vitamins, minerals in these green foods. And you have a large quantity of protein, vitamins and phytonutrients and polyphenols and other micronutrients that the body uses to maintain this machinery for a lower caloric intake. Now, when you consume a food that's rich like that, the body works less toward digestion. So that's more energy for the body to go for repair or functioning and so on and so forth. And so, but if you let's say if you eat, a big, seafood platter from your favorite seafood place, I'm not going to call any names, that's fried and all of that, that might be, trace amounts of nutrients that your body has to get through, but it's got to break down all the toxins and poisons and fats and oils. The liver has to process that. A lot of people have fatty livers from the foods we're eating, the chemical preservatives and the like. So when you're not having to eat all of that and the body's not having to work, that's why people fall asleep when they eat. Now, one thing I will say is that, and I'm going to share this with the audience, and this is, my scientific deduction, medical scientific deduction, but we're all familiar with the old Thanksgiving meal. People have the big Thanksgiving meal and watch the football game, they fall asleep, or whatever holiday meal, they eat the meal, they fall asleep. Now, a big part of that is the fact that you're having to break down that meal, but look at it this way. We're familiar with an alcoholic having liver disease. They get liver congestion and they get sleepy. We call it alcoholic encephalopathy. I think a lot of these people that eat these heavy meals, many of them may have a fatty liver. I mean, it's not like the first fatty meal that you've eaten. So if you eat a fatty Thanksgiving meal, you probably have a liver that's already congested. And so you eat one big fatty meal and it makes you sleepy because the liver gets congested. It doesn't process and clear the blood very well. So these toxins go to the brain and they have an adverse neurological effect. And so that can put you to sleep. It creates this kind of a quasi-encephalopathic process. And a lot of people can get drunk on food in large part because the liver gets congested. Similarly, an alcoholic can get drunk because at some point the liver gets congested and you can't break it all down. And these chemicals have a toxic effect on the brain.
Wow.
And so again, there's a chemical effect on these foods that we're having, and sometimes we feel it more immediate. So the point you make is that you're not consuming a lot of calories, but the foods you have is packed with nutrients that benefits you and not poisons that have an adverse effect. And this is the thing that people say, well, I eat my steak because I want protein. That's fine. But the problem is that, you can't use much of that protein, if any at all. Maybe you can break some of it down to amino acids and reuse it. But the problem is that there's so many toxins and chemicals in that steak that your body has to process as well. Whatever good it gets out of it is more than outweighed by the toxins and bad stuff that it has in it.
Well, Doc, can I ask you a quick question about that?
Sure.
When you're adding heat to say that steak, does it ever change the molecular structure?
It always changes it. Yeah. And a lot of my colleagues talk about aromatic amines that has carcinogenic effects. There are probably other chemical effects that we don't know about. But that goes with adding heat to just about anything, even plant foods. You add too much heat to it, it gets broken down. So you're right. It's an excellent question because the heat does change the biochemistry of the food. And it's interesting because I was doing a Veg Fest talk, and I was, Dr. Colin Campbell wrote the book Whole, and in the book Whole, he does an excellent job of talking about how we in medicine and science have a reductionist way of thinking. It's okay, look at this molecule or this nutrient or this whatever, but food is a very organized, complex structure or structures, and so it's like a symphony. And we like to try to break it down into trombones and the tubas or whatever. But the food has to be coordinated and organized together. So when you isolate things, it becomes problematic. Now, so I asked Dr. Campbell, I said, well, Dr. Campbell, we were on this show, and I said, do you think overly cooked plant foods are whole? And so he thought about it. Oh, well, yeah. but the answer is no. And so whatever we do to process these foods, ideally, if we were just walking around and we had stuff growing around, we just pull it up and eat it. There's living food, we put it in our mouth. That's the ideal way. It's not practical for most of the time. You could probably have some sprouts growing in your house and eat them while they're living and do it that way. But practically speaking, the more we do to the foods, the less whole they become and less ideal they are for us. So it's one of those things, but it's a great point. The heat does have a problem, not only with the dead animal flesh, but also with the plant foods too, especially if you add too much too much to it.
What do they say? What is it, about 117 degrees Fahrenheit? We lose the live enzymes in the food.
Something like that. And it fluctuates. Some people say it can get higher for shorter periods of time, but for longer periods of time, it has to stay at that lower rate temperature. So it's one of those things. And I think practically speaking, what I'm saying to people is that we're talking conceptually here. We want to think in terms of moving in the right direction. Personally, I'm moving more toward a raw diet, but it's taken me years to do that. I mean, but take a step in the right direction and walk at the pace that you're comfortable with. And sometimes you run a little bit and sometimes you walk a little bit and so on. But make sure you look in the right direction. You want to eat, a plant-rich diet and a solely plant diet and so on and so forth. And you're going to get the benefits is what I'm saying. So let me get, I'm talking you to death. This is great insight. Let me share the slides. And we have a few slides here. I'm throwing up a few pictures. Here's Chef Babette serving it up. But this is a very delicious. Now, this is what you serve at your restaurant. Can you tell us about this?
No. Well, basically, what this is I make a chili, and the way that I make it, you can either eat it cold, raw, live, or cooked. Now, once you show them the recipe, the cooked version. That version right there, I just put over a baked potato with some cashew sour cream and some slices of avocado and sprouts. Yeah, but if you decided not to put the beans and the ground tofu in that version, you chop walnuts and put the walnuts in there and leave it cold because it can be eaten live, like I said, or cooked.
Now, one thing I like about this is that this is a savory meal. Now, a lot of people, we talk about, vegan diet and all, they're thinking about, oh my goodness, how I'm going to, do without my steak. This is a very delicious meal. If you're early on starting transitioning from dead animal flesh, this would be very, very filling. And so I think someone, and it's very reminiscent of what you would get at, say, a steakhouse. They have
you wouldn't even miss it. You would not even, you wouldn't even care. You wouldn't even ask any questions. Doc, I have a vegan restaurant in Inglewood, opened in 2008. It is 2021. And it was a food desert when I opened. I am still there, never closed through COVID.
Wow.
You got to bring the taste. You catch people right where they are, and they don't have,
Yep. So somebody asked about coconut aminos here. Use coconut aminos and Bragg's aminos, right?
Well, I use Bragg's and coconut aminos. Sometimes when I want things, I need things to be a little saltier. I'll use the Bragg's. But if you want a subtle seasoning, coconut amino is ideal, because actually I have to water my Bragg's down. Bragg's is so highly concentrated. If you get too much Bragg's, it's so hard to fix your meal. Doc, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that. You get too much Bragg's on something, it's like a nightmare trying to straighten it out.
Yeah, you shouldn't brag on yourself too much. Yeah, you shouldn't brag on yourself too much, is what they say. Now, this is the basic components of a pudding, banana pudding. And so it just kind of shows the steps of what you do to put it in. What is this up top?
Now, that's probably one of my, I make raisin oatmeal cookies, and I make walnut, sometimes peanut butter oatmeal cookies, but I always have two different types of oatmeal cookies there, and I probably crumbled up a cookie. But I also use granola, your favorite granola. You can actually buy cookies now. You can buy vegan wafers now and make an authentic banana pudding. I just use products that I make myself in-house at the restaurant.
Gotcha.
If I don't have to buy pre-made cookies, I will make the cookie myself.
Gotcha.
Because I know what I'm putting in it.
Now that's important if you make it yourself. Now I'm going to leave, this is a busy slide. I'm going to leave it up here for people who want to take a picture of the slide, or if you go back and look at the video, you can freeze it here and then write these ingredients down. But this is the un-carrot tuna. Tell us about
the un-tuna. Now this is the un-tuna recipe. When I juice carrots, we peel all of our carrots because we're going to use the carrot pulp to make our un-tuna for the restaurant. And the second recipe is a carrot, mango, pineapple, ginger salad dressing.
Ah, wow.
That's the second recipe. But the carrot un-tuna, honey, it's just all of those ingredients in one bowl and mixed up. That's as easy as it is. And if you don't want to use apple cider, I use apple cider vinegar and agave nectar. And Doc, I know you understand what I'm saying. In a restaurant setting, whatever products you try to keep product purchases at a minimum. If I can make the same flavor out of sweet pickle relish out of apple cider vinegar and agave nectar, then I ain't buying the pickle relish. We be trying to save money up in there. So what I'm saying is, if you have pickle relish, sweet pickle relish, you want to put that in the un-tuna, and you don't have vinegar, but you should always have vinegar and agave in your cabinet. But if you don't, and you got some pickle relish, you can use that in the carrot un-tuna. I said all that to say that. Anyway.
No, that's great. I think that's great. And I think those things apply at home too, because even though, as you're right, in the restaurant rerun, we try to be as cost effective.
Frugal.
So yes, as possible. But the thing is that you have to, be frugal, and you have to make these things work. And so the same thing applies at home. So you try to create recipes that use common ingredients and things like that. People talk about eating healthy is expensive. It may be expensive, but it will cost you less. And people say eating cheap food is less expensive, but it costs you more.
We need to stop it though, Doc. We need to really, really stop it with the expensive. Because I'm going to tell you, when I was a kid, my mother, there were times when my mother one of the greatest meals she would ever make when I got home from elementary school was to know we had a big old pot of red beans with some cornbread and some rice. Bad combination, beans and rice and cornbread, but that was a favorite meal of mine. And you know, we make this major, it's almost like we want to offer excuses as to why we don't choose to transition. Stop it. You can say everything's expensive. I know meat eaters that go to the store and complain about their grocery bill. So, you know, it's just an excuse because you choose not to transition. You really think that it's the tough guy attitude. I got to have my meat. It ain't your meat. But if you decide you're going to eat it and it becomes a part of you, you will pay for that.
Yep.
You will pay for that.
You know, I'm laughing because you know, my kids, you've met my kids, and you know,
Yes.
you know, they don't eat all vegan. I'm working on them. But anyway, so yeah, I have some friends over, and you know, one of my friends over, he's a vegan friend of mine. He's talking to my son. He said, you know, you eat a vegan diet. He says, you know, he's in his first year of law school, and you know, he's, you know, supporting himself.
Already.
And yeah, he says, well, you know, I'm on a budget, you know, I'm just a poor first year law student, but there he's got a restaurant less than a mile away. Dad,
Thank you.
vegan food.
Thank you. Help me. Stop.
So
It's
that's the side of the
right?
excuses people get. My daughter's the same way. But here's you mentioned food combination, and Lynn Brad asked, can you speak on meals and proper combination of foods and when to consume? What is your approach to food combinations and also the order of foods, if you will?
Well, you know, the first thing that I learned through Fit for Life, especially volume 1, was about combining foods properly. And some of the main things that I always did that was incorrect. I always, I was like everybody else. You go to Auntie's house on 4th of July and somebody that made the big old bowl of fruit salad that has every fruit out there in it, watermelon, all of that kind of stuff. And melons, you start learning, oh, melons should be eaten alone on an empty stomach. Oh, fruit. You shouldn't be combining fruit with dead cow butt. You know, and so you start wondering why we are the only species that must medicate ourselves to digest our food. Come on now. We the ones with all the brains, but we have to medicate. We Zantac right now, and it's all over the internet. Zantac right now, a lawsuit because it's causing cancer.
Yep.
So the bottom line is we have to understand that fruit should be eaten on it. That fruit is that food that you eat first thing in the morning after you fasted all night. You get you some fruit. You got an empty stomach. You have subacid fruit. You have acid fruit. You have sweet fruit. You can mix the subacid with the acid or the subacid with the sweet, but she's never mixed the acid with the sweet. So it's one of those things where use your Google. Or either buy that book, Fit for Life, volumes number 1. Volumes 2 is important because it's going to tell you about all the aluminum in your toothpaste and your deodorant and all that kind of stuff. But get that book, Fit for Life. It will explain just exactly what happens when you combine certain foods that shouldn't be combined together. It would take up too much time for me to go into all of that today. But just remember, a carbohydrate goes with a salad. A protein goes with a salad, veggies. You don't eat a carbohydrate and a protein together. That is a bad combination. And it has to do with the digestive enzymes that break those two different foods down. So you really need to, and it's not a hard read. It's easy and it appeals to your common sense. That is why somebody like myself was able to take that book and it changed my entire world. That's why I suggest the book.
Now, the one of the comment, I mean, I like the comment about the fruit, and the fruit is very hydrating. In the morning, you need hydration, And so
Right.
eating fruits early on is very hydration. So the water aspect of it.
Water,
Captain
water.
Welch wants to know about what would you put the salad dressing on other than salad?
Well, listen, that salad dressing is pretty darn incredible. But of course, at Stuff I Eat, we're using the salad dressing primarily on salad. But be creative, my dear. You might come up with something really fun and special to use that salad dressing on. You could also put that salad dressing in that carrot on tuna if you wanted to, just a little bit to give it a little different kick, a little different flavor. But for the primarily, we use the salad dressing on the salads. That's what we give our customers at Stuff I Eat. And I threw in the ginger and the pineapple because my salad dressing is generally just a carrot mango salad dressing. And Nancy says she could never be a full vegan. Your journey is your journey. Even though you were created full vegan, it's your journey. I don't know what else to say to that. Where are you, Doc? You stuck? Doc is frozen. Doc is frozen. All right. You're frozen.
Okay, we are back on air. My goodness, I lost power, and Chef Babette is back. And
Let me turn my water off, Doc.
good, go ahead. That's fine. So anyway, I don't know what happened there. I lost internet. Thank you guys for being patient. And I'll tell you what's happening. I don't know. Somebody don't want this message to get out, right? We get the conspiracy theories going. But anyway, we were talking about food combining and the hydration of fruits early in the morning. I think is very important. Also, simple meals, smaller meals, but fruits, your land vegetables, and anything heavier is going to be last because those things move through slower. So, I think that's a great point there. Then we have another question. Let me look through our questions. I really apologize, guys. Thanks for staying on. And we'll have Chef Babette sing another time. It's getting late in the evening. But what are your final comments? What are your final comments tonight? This has been a great show, and again, we lost power, but what are your final comments on?
My final comments would first. I'm going to address Nancy Augustine, who said I could never be a full vegan.
That's what it was. Yes, address that.
And basically, these are individual journeys we're on. Everybody has their own walk. For me, veganism became an extremely important part of my human journey and my human experience, because I understand the connection that I have with the whole. So getting in where I fit in when it comes to my nourishment, my diet, is very, very important to me. And so that is why I believe that for myself, self-love, self-care, and the understanding that as I care for me, I am also caring for the whole and doing my part in basically loving and just basically taking care of my home and myself. So I just think it's an obligation that we all have. We're not living this by ourselves. We share all of this, and it just hurts my heart when humans we have a tendency just to be very selfish, and it's just all about us, and it's not about anything or anyone else, and that's painful for me because I am such a giver, and we've been given so much to walk this walk and experience this thing called life. And the very least that we could do is figure out as a species what the proper diet is and lean towards that. Because guess what? The intelligence that created it all created balance. We're the one that has it all. So do your part.
I think that's a beautiful statement. And the thing that you say that I don't even think about a lot is that when we eat poorly or do something poorly, we think about, well, it's just me. It's my body. I can eat what I want. And there's some part truth to that, but not really. It's not the whole picture, because what you consume has a global impact. And I don't think about that a lot. I think, well, okay, whatever. But it does. And when you're consuming foods that are brought about when we harm the environment, it has a global impact on not only yourself, but it impacts your local community, and it impacts future generations. And so if there are people that you love and care about, it has an adverse impact on them.
Yes, it does, Doc. Yes, it does. And
wow.
Right quick, I have to share this. My favorite go-to would be cilantro, lemon or lime, ginger, lots of ginger. I love it spicy. Green apples, and sometimes when I just really want to, I guess it's time to go.
No. You're fine. You're fine. I'm glad.
So that was somebody wanted an example of my go-to green, and that's what it is. And of course, my dash of E3 Live up in there. And somebody said something about they did the E3 Live, but they didn't feel. Listen, it's creating balance. It's everything that you do that assists you with feeling a certain way. It's not just 2 tablespoons of E3 Live every day. It's across the board. You got to do it all. I don't depend on E3 Live to do it all for me. Why you think I get up and juice in the morning? I don't like cleaning up that big industrial juice every day, but I have to do it because it is a part of the way that I balance my nourishment. Anyway.
And in the future, we're going to get into other things you do, such as exercise and various other things. And so it's going to be more than just the food. The food is very important, but we're going to talk about a variety of things. And so, Chef Babette, as always,
thank you, Doc.
It's a pleasure. I always learn a lot. I always get a lot out, and I'm always inspired. So keep up the great work. I'll be in touch, and I'll be talking to you very shortly.
All right, sweetheart. You guys take care. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Doc, again for having me. Be safe, y'all.
All right, you too. All right, another great show, and I really enjoyed this. I always enjoy talking to Chef Babette. She's so full of energy and so, inspiring in just, her presence. And, she's gone through a lot, and she's very busy. She's got a lot on her plate. She doesn't always share that part of her life, but she does go through a lot. And she's doing a lot, and she always has time to come and share with others. So, again, I want to close out tonight with the final words. Again, our purpose on this show is to inform you and to educate you and to empower you. And tonight, and hopefully future Mondays, first Mondays of the month, we hope to inspire you in addition to those things, because knowledge and insight without inspiration sometimes can become stagnant. And so we want to inspire you to take that first move if you haven't taken that first move, or get to another level. Many of you are doing a lot of the right things, but maybe there's another level you need to get to. Optimal health, as we state in our mantra, is a journey. It's an everlasting journey toward continual growth and improvement, physically, mentally, spiritually, etc. And so we hope that you continue to do these things and challenge yourself in new ways. So maybe you're already 100% vegan. So challenge yourself to do longer detoxes, or have a cleaner vegan diet, or eat more raw, whatever the case is, or exercise more. So always challenge yourself to get to the next level. And that's what this inspirational message is about. So again, as always, hope you enjoyed this show. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but please share it with anyone that you think may benefit. If you've gotten something out of this show, we hope that you subscribe. If you haven't, also hit the notification bell so you get notified on future shows that we have. We'll be talking about other types of educational things. And we try to get to the basics of health and nutrition on this show. So share it with anyone, any loved one that you think may benefit from the show. And until next time, keep it fresh, natural, and live.